Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Kiran Kuchimanchi, who is the founder of RoundSqr, which helps businesses define problems and solve them using emerging technologies. Hi Kiran, welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priya. Nice meeting you. And then I'd like to first thank Entrepreneur Lounge of India for creating a platform where entrepreneurs can share their stories and inspire many others to join the path of entrepreneurship. It's a pleasure to be part of the series.
Uh, to start with, I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, like you said, Kiran, I'm the CEO, founder CEO of RoundSqr. Set up this company about 3 years ago. Prior to that, I worked in the software services industry for about 20 plus years. I had spent time mostly in India, but I'd done some amount of work in the US and in some of the other parts of Asia Pacific as well. Led country operations. Started my career as a software developer, but then quickly grew into roles on the managerial side. Continue to stay in touch with technology as much as I can, although I'd like to code and do stuff like that. No, I rarely get that opportunity anymore. But we're having fun building RoundSqr right now. It's a 100 people company, doing well.
Tell us a bit about the naming behind RoundSqr. What it is, what does it mean, and how did this name came to your mind?
That's a very interesting story. So we were 3 years ago when we were looking at setting up the company. We said we'll not be like every other services company out in the market, and we were looking for a name that would reflect that message as well. So we were just contemplating different kinds of names, and then we quickly, sort of landed on this advertisement that Apple did back in 1992 or 93, I think. Um, and this is about, they featured in the ad people like Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, etc. And the message was that, some of these guys are geniuses and they think different. Although we won't say that we are geniuses yet when compared to a lot of other people, we just wanted to convey the message that we think differently. And the overall message of that particular ad was that we are round pegs in square holes, so they don't go together. So we wanted to be unlike other people, as in, think differently, take a lot more risks, be bold enough to do something creative, change the world. That's the kind of messages that we wanted to hold on to, and that's how the name came about. So it was inspired by the Apple advertisement back in 1992, 93, back then.
Okay, so tell us about it. What is RoundSqr right now in terms of how many clients we serve, in what areas, what technologies, and what are some of the interesting results that we have achieved for them?
So, like I said, started 3 years ago, and mainly a software services company. We do have aspirations of developing some amount of intellectual property as well as part of the company as we go along. Again, we had identified a few areas where we believe that there is potential to develop intellectual property. And I'll talk about that in a bit more detail a little later. But on the services side, we today have 15 plus, close to about 20 customers across the world. We are headquartered out of Hyderabad. We are incorporated in the US. We are incorporated in Australia. We have business from the UK. It's just that because of COVID, we sort of did not go forward with our own entity locally in the UK, European region, which we'll anyway do in some time to come. Doing some interesting work across these customers, primarily in the fintech, manufacturing, ISV, and healthcare space. Some of the technologies that we use when solving problems for our customers are in the artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, data engineering, a lot of work that we do in the data engineering side. Now, obviously, some work in the mobile app development and full stack development work, etc. But we are looking at problems that typically others can't or don't solve, and we pride ourselves to be able to find solutions to this. And that was one of the things that we wanted to embark on, initially when we started the company. So at a broad level, three categories of services, Priya. The first one is what we call as consulting. And typically this is a service where the customers and we don't know if the current set of technologies can solve the problem or the opportunity area that we are embarking on. We typically end up doing a proof of concept or something like that to see even if a solution is possible for some of these kinds of solutions. And then sometimes, we find a solution that goes through into a proper, that goes as a proper project, but sometimes, in other times, we don't know, we can't solve the problem, in which case we drop it there, along with the understanding that we have with the customer. An example of that would be some interesting work we're doing for one of the largest manufacturers of HVACs. This is heating, ventilation, and cooling, which is the equipment that goes into the air conditioning equipment. They had a unique problem in trying to identify each of these HVACs that come out of the manufacturing line. They all look the same to the naked eye, but they wanted us to be able to use some sort of technology to uniquely identify. Long story short, I don't want to go into details of the solution, but we were able to use computer vision, which is a branch of of work in the artificial intelligence space, to be able to uniquely identify each and every HVAC that comes out of the manufacturing line. That solution is now being implemented across one manufacturing plant, and we're going to be rolling that across the other lines and plants of the customer soon. So that's the consulting piece of work. The second area of work is typically what we call as digital engineering services. This is the kind of work that we do where the customer is clear about what they need from us, but they ask us for help for everything from there on. As in, what cloud to host the solution on, what technologies to use, how do you do a credit card integration, how do you go about, setting up the CI/CD patterns, whatever that is required in terms of just being able to deliver that solution eventually to their end customers, is what we take as the piece of work that we would need, and then deliver that piece of work. The third one is what we call a strategic staff augmentation, and this is an area where our customers come to us and say we would need 2 Python developers, 3 people who have understanding of natural language processing, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Would be very curious to know how it all started. When did you start the venture, and how were the initial days of starting out?
We started 3 years ago. Prior to that, all of us, or all of the, there are about 6 other founders, co-founders in the company. All of us were first-gen entrepreneurs in that sense. All of us working either, and we were all connected. We were friends first, and we were thinking about doing something exciting. This space called artificial intelligence, machine learning, and these kinds of things were quickly gaining a lot of traction, and we were seeing companies embracing them in a big manner. And we wanted to, some of us were fairly proficient in that space, and we said, we got to be doing something in this space. And we got together one fine day. We said, let's set up a company let us set up a company and go about delivering this work. So it's 3 years ago, started this company that way. Initial days, we didn't even know what to do, how to go about, how to go about actually setting up a company, and how to go about winning the first customer. We were just twiddling thumbs, sitting at one place and doing all that. But eventually, we started reaching out to friends that we knew across the world, friends that we knew in the country. A lot of help came from quarters that we didn't even think that would help us. So that's a message that I would like to give to everyone, which is, you can't imagine your way through when you sort of embark on an entrepreneurial journey. You can't plan everything. There are so many things that you just don't even understand, don't even know. And for us, we were very fortunate in the way we received help from a lot of people, from a lot of clients that are today working with us. Similarly, we were not even sure how we would recruit the first set of people. Obviously, these are technologies which are high in demand. The work that we were going to do in ML and data engineering and those kinds of areas, people were fairly in demand in those areas. So we again reached out to friends that we knew and people that we knew in the industry, and we were able to quickly build a team around them. So yeah, I think it was exciting for a start. Then very exciting for a start during the initial days. Then it slowly began to dawn on us that it was not going to be that very easy. That's when the real struggle started for a few months. Then once we started reaching out to people and talking to people, when we found the first few customers, things became progressively easier and easier.
Speaking of struggles, can you tell us about some of the biggest challenges that you have faced while building and growing this venture?
Yeah, I think the biggest in the services world, the biggest challenge was about finding the right people and the right and finding the first few customers. Given that we did not have any credibility prior to that as a company. We all had individual credibility, but as a company, we probably did not have any credibility because we were just starting out. So to build that credibility it required someone to trust in the capability and then come forward and give us work. I think that was the biggest struggle that we faced. Now, obviously, there were operational challenges like setting up an entity and incorporating in various countries and stuff like that. But those were not the biggest challenges in my view. You could still come over those fairly easily. But the biggest challenge was about identifying the right kind of people that we wanted to be part of the company, getting them or convincing them that we are a credible company to join. We were probably 5 or 6 people, and then similarly finding the first few customers who trusted in us and gave us the work that they could rely on us. So that I think was the biggest challenge.
Okay. Speaking of people, I think for a service company, it's the biggest asset the service companies have is the people, and it's very critical to hire the right people and set the right culture in the company. So can you tell us on how do you go about hiring for one, and how do you make sure that the uh, people after they join they adhere to culture and they also bring in a new culture to the company?
Yeah. So we have always believed that if we find the right kind of person that will fit our company, we will go ahead and bring them on board. Even if we don't have immediate work for them, we were very confident that we would be able to find work eventually. So this business is all about people business. So that was the motto with which we sort of worked on bringing people on board. So right at the inception, we had probably about 25, 30 people, and with work for only probably half of that. But we just believed that we'll be able to find work because we had the right kind of people. And that got reiterated over the years now, that if you have the right people, you get you can find work. So yeah, and we are very big on hiring people with the right kind of attitude. We can build the aptitude. We can help them scale their aptitude side of the house. But attitude is absolutely something that is very important. That is very important. Customer to us is like God. Not that we want to have our people work 24/7 and stuff like that. But at least if the intent is there to always look for the benefit of the customer, then we probably have the right mindset or the right intent in our minds to solve the problems that the customer is asking us to solve. So yeah, I think right intent, people with right intent, people with humility, people with people who are hardworking and disciplined, people who can put in the disciplined effort throughout. These are the kinds of qualities that we're looking for when looking for people. And if you find them, we just hire them. We're extremely confident of getting work for those kinds of guys.
Okay. One thing I am always curious about is the scalability aspect in service businesses. When you build a product company, the core agenda there is to so that someday it will scale up, someday it will acquire million users, so that every small thing will get exponential returns. But that doesn't happen in a service business. So would like to understand how, but service businesses are still equally lucrative, equally profitable, and equally good business models. So there has to be a scalability aspect to the service business as well. Can you tell us if there is any scalability in service businesses?
Yeah, you're right in the sense that when you look at a product company, you're probably building something based on not domain knowledge that you have. You're identifying a certain gap in the industry and building a solution to it. You're burning a lot of cash initially, probably before you find the first customer, and until you probably become profitable. So there is still a duration when you're probably not making any money. You're investing with the hope that you'll be able to make money at a later point in time when it comes to building a product or stuff or something that is a platform that you can market out into the market. In the case of services, it's fairly straightforward, in my opinion. If you get, like I said, if you get the right people, get the right customer who needs people that can help them with their technology needs, then I think it is profitable right from the inception itself. So yes, you would still need a certain scale to be able to, to be able to make sense as a profitable business, and that's the job that we have as people managing the business. It's about identifying opportunities that you would want to invest in, identifying the kinds of technologies and the kinds of work that you want to do moving forward, so that you stay relevant to what is required in the market. There are, in the world today where digital transformation is something that everyone is embarking on. There is tremendous amount of requirement for qualified people and qualified people that can help solve problems. And we are a company that are not. When we go to a customer, we don't bore them with 3 years of a digital transformation initiative, or we don't tell them that it will cost them $1 billion or $1 million. We tell them that digital transformation can be accomplished by taking bite-sized projects, small initiatives, progressively over the course of their journey, to be able to then eventually get closer and closer to that eventual target that they would have as a digitally transformed company. So I'm probably using a lot of words to answer your question, but net, in my opinion, product companies start with hope. They invest heavily right up front. Yes, some make it, some don't make it. Those that make it, there is exponential upside to it. In the case of services business, you don't burn too much. You're always being reasonably profitable, and there is no question about you not being able to survive or sustain, as long as you're running a disciplined business, or a business that is doing all the right things. So I think both are completely different, and we fit in that services business given the background that we have. Yes, we do have aspirations in line with what we do as a company in the digital transformation space. We do have some aspirations on building some IP that we would like to take it to market.
Any pivots that you have done to your business model so far?
Nothing specifically. Again, like I said, we would have liked to start off on the IP journey a little earlier. We do have some work that we've done in the IP space. We've built a product called Zastra, a platform called Zastra, that is, again, it helps in first, it helps our people deliver work to our customers faster when it comes to work in the ML space, machine learning space. And we believe that is a requirement that most companies in the machine learning world, in the artificial intelligence machine learning world, have a requirement for. And we think that we can take it to market at some point in time. And we're aggressively working on creating, all the core product that is required is already there now. Now it's about the other aspects, like the messaging, the marketing, the people that can take it to potential customers that need it. Those are the kinds of investments that we have to make, and we're starting to think about making those investments as well. So yeah, I think except for the fact that we probably would have liked to invest a lot more on the IP side, there is no other pivot as such that we have taken per se.
Okay. In the founders and investors community, we lot of time we talk about leverage, and there are three kinds of leverage: money, technology, and people. And service business is more about leveraging the people, and it's a people-heavy business. What happens in people-heavy businesses is, you as a founder, you have to be very much invested, and you have to put in a lot of time on people, interacting with people, uh, um, driving them, keeping them motivated. And in that process, you sometimes feel tired, restless, and you lose out of your energy. And when that happens, your business also suffers. So can you tell us, how do you manage such situations, and how have you managed to stay consistent over such a long journey?
Um, yeah, it's a very interesting question. I think, like you said, we are the people business, and you'll have to have, so underlying the fact that we are a business, we are very keen about the development of our people as well. There is an intent that that it is not just about servicing our customers only, but it is also about meeting the aspirations of each and every person that comes on board our company. So when you keep that in mind, and when you're tired or a bit down or whatever that is, as a anyone as another individual who's responsible for making a decision, or or doing something in the company, if you can think that we are impacting many other lives in the company by just being able to go through that process, even though you're tired and even though you're whatever, then you get that extra bond of energy. In my opinion, I've always relied on the fact, on that part. When I think I'm done for the day or tired, when that last thing comes up, if you still need to do that, I think that what I do now is going to impact many more other people, in some way or the other. So it's important to think of that. It's important to keep that in mind when you're actually uh, you know down, or feeling tired or something like that. So it's about again, I'm using a lot of words. It's about just thinking about the social side of it. It's about thinking about the people that you work with, and it is not just about making money or stuff like that. It's about just that social aspect that drives you from having no energy to being able to go out of the way to sort of solve that problem, or take care of that responsibility that you have on you.
Sometimes as entrepreneurs, you might be wondering if there is a autopilot mode that you can deploy and live your business on autopilot mode like we have on aircrafts. So can you tell us if that is even possible? uh, if yes, how to achieve that?
I don't think there is anything called as an autopilot mode. If someone becomes so comfortable that they leave their business on autopilot mode, that means it is time probably for them to sort of exit the business, because there is always scope for improvement. There is always something to do. There is always a new charter to go on. I don't think there is ever a situation where any business, for that matter, can be on an autopilot mode. Yes, you can extricate yourself as a person that is senior to not get into too many things on a day-to-day basis, and that's the other thing. It's about grooming talent. It's about giving them opportunities to do more and more things, and you focus on something bigger and bigger. As take up a new challenge. As someone senior in the company. So I don't think there is dearth of opportunity, or there is so much opportunity. There is lots of problems to solve. So I don't think ever the autopilot thing works at all.
What would happen if you wake up tomorrow to find out that your venture has gone bankrupt, or it has failed, it's not operational anymore?
Wow, never thought about it. But yeah, so it's okay. I think you do everything that you have to do. You're always on the money. Try and do the best that you can do. If there are reasons out of your control because of which the business doesn't work out, so be it. Uh, See, we've seen the first year after our business, COVID happened. Most of our business relies on the fact that we can travel, we can meet our customers. We have salespeople across the world. They could not travel. Even our existing customers at that point in time, had to scale down because of COVID for various reasons. There were doubts about the company. Some doubts about many companies, and there were doubts as a startup for us too. But we believed that we had the ability to succeed despite whatever challenges that come through. And there will always, and we did all the right things that we had to do in order to make sure that we stay relevant. Courtesy that we are in a very good shape right now. But despite that, if you do everything right, and if you still can't make it, that's okay. You would have learned a lot of things through the way. and that will hold you good for your next venture as you sort of think through.
In service businesses, since again it's a people heavy business, every time if it is a client or if it is an employee, you'll have to meet people, uh, and that is a big part of the job, uh, as an entrepreneur, even as an employee of a service company. So can you tell us, how do you manage your time, or how does your calendar look like for a typical day? And what also, would also like to know, what do you do outside your calendar hours, as in, how, when do you wake up, when do you go to bed, how do you manage your overall time?
Yeah. So yeah, I think yes, our calendar is, or my calendar is primarily driven by what our clients and what the requirements of the company, the demands of the company. So it's primarily that, but just to go back a little, I fairly early riser, generally speaking, and then I have my usual time where I have a cup of coffee, and then I work out. That's very important for me. That's 1 hour where I sort of don't take any calls, or unless it's absolutely required. I'm there for myself, and then it's more like meditation to me. That 1 hour I'm reflecting on a lot of things while I'm sort of trying to do whatever I do as part of my workout, and then I'm on calls, and I'm off to the my workplace. So I work through the day. There is no specific, and we're having fun too. Again, for me, this sounds like as if there are two sides of me. One is the personal side, and one is the business side. In reality, it is not like that. As long as you're enjoying both, there is no distinction really between the work and the other stuff that you're doing. You are working, and you're also having fun at the same time. That's what I've always believed is the way to sort of have a long life and long work life as well. So work and personal stuff is intertwined. There are many times that we would sit down at the office and talk about a new movie, or talk about some new technology, or talk about cricket games or any other game that comes that is happening at that point in time. So yeah, for us it's about having fun, and just working when it is required. But yeah, I think going back to the point, stay up till about 10:30 in the evening. I don't know if it's relevant to this conversation, but and then I do spend some time meditating and then go back to sleep. Yeah.
Okay. What is the meaning of entrepreneurship for you? How would you define the term entrepreneur?
Wow. Entrepreneurship to me is about freedom and doing what you believe in, what you think you want to do. In another way, I think entrepreneurship is about bringing up your kid. Initial days, you spend a lot of time with them, groom them, impart all the values that you should impart typically. And then once they go off and once they become productive in their own lives and achieve the stuff that they want to achieve, you sit back and feel very proud about it. So I think if there is one feeling that I would like to compare entrepreneurship with, it is that when you sort of look at that, and when you sort of create something like an entity, like a company, and then you do everything that you have to do in order to make that successful, and then when it is doing what you thought it would do eventually, you feel really proud about it, and that's the same feeling as the entrepreneurship feeling that I could say. So I couldn't define what else I could say, but I couldn't say what else I could say, but that's the feeling that comes closest to my mind when you say, what does entrepreneurship mean to me?
I think that is a good definition of what entrepreneurship is. Coming to my final question, tell us, what are the different lessons that you have learned as an entrepreneur, which we can take away and apply to our ventures and possibly our lives as well?
I think first, you don't need to you don't need to know everything. In fact, there are lots of things that we don't know. It's okay. We don't need to be worried about it. It can be learned. In my opinion, anything and everything can be learned. Or one of the greatest sages, modern sages of India, said that all knowledge is within you. You just realize it. I'm a strong believer of it. You do realize knowledge is not something that comes into comes from the outside and suddenly enters your brain. You just realize it at some point in time. So I think the fear of not knowing something should not be a reason for entrepreneurs to not do something, or potential entrepreneurs to not do something. That's number one. Number two, I think be humble. I think humility is something that I believe is the most important quality as an individual, and more so as an entrepreneur. There will always be ups and downs. There will always be days when you're extremely thrilled. There will always be days when you're extremely sad. But just be humble, in my opinion. Balanced and being humble, I think, is probably much more reflective of what I think is required as an entrepreneur. It has held me steady always, and I believe that is a fundamental quality. And I think the third would be that you would have. I'm sure there are lots of people that help. When you become an entrepreneur, you don't think that you'll be surprised about the amount of help that you would get from the outside world. I have been pleasantly surprised, or all of us, as part of the company as RoundSqr, have been surprised by the amount of help that we receive from the different quarters across the ecosystem, and we're delighted about it, and we're pleasantly surprised about it. So I think that's another thing that I believe is something that I've learned.
Well, I think it was a pleasant conversation for me. Thanks for your time, Kiran, and our best wishes for RoundSqr.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you.